Hello, welcome to the Institute of Astronomy and its library, which was formed here at the old Cambridge Observatory building in 1823. We're part of the University of Cambridge, and back then in the 1820s, when they were collecting together books for our library, we managed to accumulate a number of really old books, some which are much older than the building itself. In fact, our oldest book dates back to 1514. But I've got out here for you today an example of one of our old books, which is a particular favourite of mine. It's called the Uranometria, and that means measuring the sky. And it's a book of constellation maps showing the ancient Greek constellations and some of the more modern constellations depicted rather beautifully. It was produced by Johann Bayer, a German astronomer, and this edition was published in Ulm in 1655. This next plate is one of my real favourites. It's the constellation of Cassiopeia, the Queen. And if you know that constellation, you'll know that it has a sort of W pattern to its main stars. But what you won't be familiar with is this bright object here. Now this was a supernova that happened in 1572. And for about 6 months, it was incredibly bright in the sky, so bright that you could even see it during daylight. But after about 6 months, it declined in brightness. And supernova are really rare events. They only happen every few hundred years. And what they are is a star which very rapidly gains enormous brightness. And this particular one was called Tycho's nova because it was seen by a young Danish student called Tycho Brahe, and he went on to become an astronomer who actually recorded some of the most precise positions of stars that anyone had ever done since ancient Greek times. This is our Northumberland Telescope, and it's actually the oldest telescope here at the Institute. It dates back to 1838. And it's the traditional style refracting telescope with a big glass objective lens at the top end of the telescope and a smaller lens to focus at this end. In 1781, William Herschel discovered a planet we now know as Uranus, and that led astronomers into a problem because the orbit of Uranus was not behaving in the way that they expected it to. And astronomers like to be able to produce predictions of the planets, knowing exactly where they will be in the sky at any time. And that wasn't working for Uranus. And so a number of astronomers worked out that there was possibly another as yet undiscovered planet further out in the solar system, and the gravity of that planet was actually affecting Uranus in its orbit. And in particular, 2 astronomers worked on this problem, John Couch-Adams here in Cambridge and Urbain Le Verrier in Paris. And they both were able to work out roughly where in the sky this as yet undiscovered planet would be. And so they set about persuading astronomers to look for the planet. And in Cambridge, the director of the Cambridge Observatory, the Reverend James Challis, started to use this telescope, the Northumberland, to look for this as yet undiscovered planet. Well, my name's Mark Hurn. I'm the librarian at the Institute of Astronomy, and my background is really as a professional librarian. I worked for many years at a technical library in London, but at the same time astronomy was my hobby, and I was very active in my local Astronomical society. And when I saw the job being advertised to be librarian of an Institute of Astronomy, I leapt at the opportunity and applied for it, and to my pleasure I was successful, and I've worked here now since 2001. My day-to-day tasks in the Institute are to maintain the astronomical library that we have here and the information resources which our astronomers use. So it's all the general library work of books in and books out, purchasing new books, cataloguing books and so on. But I also get involved with the provision of online subscriptions to different journals and other kinds of information work as well. I think the basic motivation in astronomy is simple human curiosity. The desire to actually know what's out there, to see what's on the moons of the planets, to find out what stars are made out of, to discover how galaxies are formed, what's a black hole like up close, how did the universe form, things like that. There's a burning human desire to know these sort of things. So my advice to people who want to get more into astronomy is to build on your existing strengths. If you have an academic bent, if you're good at mathematics and physics, you can probably get into professional work as an astronomer. But if you don't have those gifts, there's still lots that you can do in astronomy. Almost every large town or city in the country has a local astronomy group that you can join, and you can go along there, meet other people with a common interest, learn what the best telescopes are to get, how to use them and what's visible in the sky, and you can learn a lot and have a lot of fun doing things like that. And whatever your job is, you can sometimes find a way into astronomy with it.